Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Career. I'm Justin Kane. I'm joined here by Josh Mosko. This is season 1, episode 6. I got to be honest with you. This is the legit first time. This is an in-person interview. We both got COVID tested. So all you people out there thinking, no, we're honestly, I'm going to tell you, Josh is like best friend growing up. He's in the technology sector now as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But in quickly introducing Josh, he just straight up showed up on the doorstep to do the podcast, which I love. This is real. This just got real as opposed to like all the internet and Zoom meetings and stuff. Here's the deal on Josh, man. I don't know an athlete that can play any single sport ever put in front of him. This guy can do it. I mean, he's like a tremendous athlete, and he takes his athletic abilities and applies them to business and his business mentality and sales mentality as well. And it's pretty awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about that. He's a single dad. He's got a great daughter, Talia. He is the managing director of the United States for a company called LogiMove. I'd love to just kick it off by saying, yo, tell us what LogiMove is. Tell us a little bit about yourself, but tell us what LogiMove is in words that layman will understand, right? The normal people. So hit it up,
brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great to be here. And LogiMove, it's really interesting. We actually started in Europe with the company, but it's an IT technology company. And that's one of the hardest things is to kind of explain and kind of that elevator pitch what we do, because we talk to all sorts of different IT folks and operations people and all that. But to really make it simple, it's kind of a digital transformation company. So we take everything paper-based and turn it into digital processes. So anything you can do on your desktop, you can do mobilely in the field. So that's really what we do, is enable field workers mobilely. And, there's all sorts of buzzwords, mobility solutions, low-code platform, all sorts of things. But essentially that's what we do, just to paint the picture.
Yeah. I was digging around on the website. I saw some kind of, facial recognition stuff. We talking about like, governmental facial recognition. We talking about walking into a bank and having your face recognized. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. So it actually started kind of somewhat by a relationship in Europe, that we have Kentucky Fried Chicken as a customer. And so basically it started with face recognition with a kiosk. And we're doing some stuff in aviation and airports and looking at construction and some different industries. But basically that's really it. So it's about kind of user access. It's about payment and just kind of streamlining the whole process. So it's interesting. A lot of use cases, obviously. And nowadays facial recognition and, things along those lines are taking hold. So it's
on our mobile devices, it all recognizes your face, which is pretty cool. How'd you get into this?
Yeah.
I mean, like, listen, I'm talking to a guy right now whose granddad had an electrical supply house. And I can remember hanging out there as a kid and, going in, and anytime I was driving by, just swing in. They had a nice little coffee maker. And so we go from like, and Josh was running the place, by the way. He kind of grew into running the place with his uncle and all this other stuff. How did you make that transition from that to what you're doing today in technology?
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey, really.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it happens. And initially, working on an electrical business, and then I got into the equipment rental business, which everyone always asks, how'd you get into that business? And it was just kind of by circumstance that Yale was one of my biggest customers, and United Rentals was doing a generator job there, and some guys came in the shop. Yale said, yeah, go see Josh. He'll take care of you. And I had to build a panel in the fab shop on a weekend. And those guys were like, yeah, that was, you went above and beyond. And they were kind of excited about, working together. And so they said, yeah, come work for us. So that kind of got me into the equipment rental business. And so I spent most of my career in equipment rental.
Let me just cut you off.
Yeah.
When you say a panel, an electrical panel?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an electrical panel for this generator, distribution that they needed. So it was a specialty product that they needed kind of built. And that was kind of the segue there, and spent about 15 years in the rental industry working for some big corporations, Hertz Corporation, United Rentals. and ready air gas. So that was kind of really kind of the meat in my career. But I always was kind of intrigued about technology and always was proactive about being on committees and really trying to push technology, because kind of the whole industrial construction industry is always way behind. And so I've been an advocate of it. So then fast forward, I got laid off in 2016 and started consulting business and then equipment business. And it kind of veered into technology as far as IoT and telematics. And then basically at some point I met LogiMove. I met the founder of LogiMove, and I really thought in my mind, this is really interesting. We can kind of combine the machine data, the IoT telematics, and then the workflow and have something kind of unique. And that's how I met LogiMove. And eventually they needed somebody to run the Americas. So that's really how it transpired. But it's been a really interesting ride the last few years. And now I'm in the deep end of the pool with technology and software. And I do enjoy it. And it's really the future, right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you talk about equipment rental, you talk about having your own, equipment rental business, consultancy, et cetera. LogiMove technology, telematics, and how they can kind of connect. Is that who you're selling to? These equipment rental, who are LogiMove's customers?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, and it's funny, we just had an advisor board, our first advisor board meeting yesterday, and a lot of it was kind of on channel strategy and a lot of these things as far as, where are we going with it and who do we target, where do we spend our time and energy? And really, I mean, the telematics thing is really interesting to us because the whole IoT telematics space is, we're looking at a lot of partnerships to really scale the business up. So they're a perfect partner for us in, let's say, on the equipment side for, monitoring machines and machine data, and then on the vehicle side, so transportation and automotive. So basically a lot of people focus on this, basically on the assets, the vehicles, equipment, and well, they should, because in a lot of businesses, that's capital intensive, piece of it. And so we then take that data, real-time data, and basically trigger workflows, inspections, damage detection, and all that. So for us, that's a perfect fit and a perfect opportunity to work with fleet owners, rental companies, manufacturers that are really concerned about their fleet. So that's a big target for us. And then software integrators is a big target for us too, to work with them, with existing customers. So for us, it's a big part of it's partnerships and kind of have some different pillars of partnerships. And then, we do have some direct clients as well. So we really started in the business in the kind of car rental business. So Hertz and Six and Euro cars. So that's really our core. And now we're really heavily invested in kind of equipment rental, heavy machinery, basically anything in the industrial construction space. We see that as a space. And long story short, I mean, any of these industries were behind on technology and adoption. That's kind of a target for us. So that's really where the construction industry comes into play.
Got it. It's really interesting, right? Because A Breath of Fresh Career is a podcast that specifically focuses on, helping people in career, trying to figure things out, talk about, different industries, et cetera. The main thing, because of what I do as a recruiter with Woodbridge Worldwide, is work with technology companies, enterprise software companies. You guys are obviously one of them. It's really cool to see for the listeners out there how many different categories that technology can really play in. I mean, this is one. We're talking about construction equipment. We're talking about rental equipment. We're talking about, huge 18-wheeler size generators that need to be tracked and traced, and, damage detection needs to be done and monitored based on, how often they're used and all this other stuff. And technology ties into it. So that's really cool. What do you guys have? And I'm not trying to throw plugs in for any competitors out there, but do you guys have, is it a competitive landscape?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think, and we've talked about it a lot as far as, where we fit in, branding, positioning, and different things. And it's interesting because there's not a lot of direct competitors in the space. There's a lot of companies that do kind of part of what we do. So, and it's kind of twofold. One is there's some companies out there. There's like Chronoforms, there's ServiceMax, there's ServiceNow. There's some companies that do either like field service or do just build forms. So they take paper and produce it in digital. And there's plenty of companies out there that do inspection apps and certain things. So a lot of companies do that. And then there's the big the big software companies. So you have the SAPs of
Yeah.
the world and the N4s, the Oracles, Microsoft. So they all have some sort of division, business units that do mobility and different things. But as we found, we're positioned to be a lot more agile and implementation, and we can really do things fast and relatively inexpensive. So we have a platform that's kind of built out. So for us, we have competitors. It's just, really where do we fit in? And, how do we promote and brand ourselves is really the key for us.
Is from a platform perspective, and is it completely customizable to the customer? Is it, like integration implementation? Is there people call it a cartridge? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, the old Nintendo, blowing that thing, plug it in, and you're live with LogiMove, but like, that's not the kind of cartridge I'm talking about. I'm talking about integration implementation cartridge. Like how tough is that?
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think, what we see, and, I think a lot of people see out there is these big bulky systems, and, you really need to be able to kind of integrate and fill gaps and all that. And that's really what we do. We have customers that we have integration in 60 of their systems. So it's really easy for us to kind of sit in the middle as kind of middleware to some degree and be kind of plug and play. And then, on the implementation side and really configurable side, that's one of our key strengths with kind of our low code, no code, where you don't need to be a software developer. You don't need to be an architect or engineer. You just have a little bit of, kind of knowledge and a little bit of technical capability, and you could write all sorts of apps and really processes and workflows and stuff like that. So it's, from that standpoint, we have customers that can make changes on the fly themselves, or, we can do
Awesome.
it. So it gives us some flexibility.
Let's transition to work, right? Not just the business, but like work. Are you guys 100% remote? You mentioned earlier that you guys were founded in Europe. Tell us a little bit about, how you're working today during this pandemic.
Yeah. Just being in this kind of business, really, it's, we've always pretty much been somewhat virtual, right? So I actually work out of a co-op workspace in New Haven here that's, from that standpoint. So yeah, the remote thing hasn't been a huge change for us, and a lot of our developers are overseas. So yeah, we all kind of work in our areas. And then obviously from a customer standpoint, we're just doing as much as we can remotely. And so it's been a little shift, but in our business, a lot of it is done kind of virtually anyway. So it hasn't been a huge blockade for us.
How has COVID changed the industry? Has it changed the industry at all?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, we're going to see a lot more, kind of the ramifications of it too in the future here. But we were at a big trade show in Vegas the second week of March, and just crazy. Like the casino shut down the day we were leaving. It was kind of wild. And we had 140,000 people at this trade show.
Holy.
Yeah, Con Expo. It's the biggest construction expo every 3 years, and they have it in Vegas. And anyway, so yeah, it was really interesting as far as, what we see from that standpoint. We had a few deals that were kind of in the pipeline there and just got shut down, right? So obviously a lot of companies kind of retreated, cut costs and did what they needed to do. And so that a lot of times obviously involves some initiatives and projects. So we had some things that just went to the back burner. But we've seen, especially in the construction industrial industries, it's kind of stabilized. One of the industries that's been stabilized, that companies are now really looking to invest and innovate because, for them, obviously it's all about efficiencies, and they really see the opportunity now to really kind of enhance and expedite their roadmap for technology and innovation, kind of whole touchless, curbside pickup, all these different things where, now they need to enhance the customer experience. They need to, do business differently. So from like a process workflow standpoint, that's where we live. So we're able to have a lot of really good discussions with customers. So that's really what we've seen.
On the lines of like COVID and how things have kind of, changed the sales process and all that crazy stuff, right? It has to change. Sometimes change is good. This has been tough for people to adjust, but like, what are you doing differently today than you were doing back in early March, February, January? Economy was booming, going to these trade shows. Like, talk us through, your interaction with customers. How are you penetrating into those client companies? What's what are you doing differently today?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for us is really, we're really trying to have proof of concept and build kind of credibility with our product. And really from a demo standpoint, which is really important to us to really kind of showcase what we have, right? So it is challenging right now for companies to actually spend the money. Like I said, companies really want to talk about things, but as far as actually pulling the trigger, it's a long sales cycle anyways. But, from our standpoint, to answer the question, what we're really doing is we're really taking, materials and really crafting. We're spending our own time, energy, and resources to do these demos, kind of proof of concept.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, we're really looking in to do pilots for free just to prove ourselves. We're so confident in what we can do and our solution that we'll offer free pilots. And, hopefully we get that chance and really
are those like
ourselves.
Annual pilots, 6 months, 3 months, a week?
Yeah,
like what?
It really depends. I mean, we like to really, do a demo and really take, kind of what the customer is doing today and show them what it looks like on a mobility solution. So we take materials and forms and, we tell them, give us one specific use case and then we build it out.
Yeah.
And we give them a demo. So we really want to see, we want them to envision what it's like to actually, have our solution. So that's really kind of how we go about it.
Okay. Aside from work, how has this changed your life? Good, better?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question. I mean, for me personally, again, the work life is remote and I work from home a lot and all that. It's been great to spend a lot of quality time with my daughter and my girlfriend and really, really just trying to think about quality of life. And I'm fortunate enough to live by the water and, we're kind of in a bubble a little bit, but, so I've just really tried to embrace it and, working out at home, doing, Zoom stuff, and yoga is a big thing in my life. And also, on the water, water activities. So a lot of paddleboarding and kayaking and a lot of beach time. So it's been a good time to reflect and just, kind of, just quality of life stuff. And obviously like this, everything will pass, and just trying to embrace it and look at the positive.
There's the bashful side of Josh. The dude lives on the water. We should say that, not by the water. He lives, so he goes out his front door and throws a paddleboard under his arm and he's out there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's really, really nice. You, as I understand it, you earlier on, not so much right now, but like earlier on, I mean, you were in Vegas when they shut the casino down. So clearly you had to travel back. But you would also, vaguely remember you having to go to like Chicago or having to go to Florida. So you've done a little bit of traveling even throughout this pandemic. How has that experience been? How has it been in the airports? How's it been on the flights? I mean, you have like is it like a private jet? But talk to us a little bit about how that experience is, because I think that there are a lot of people that are like, dude, I don't want to fly commercially right now. Like what's your experience been like?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, especially the first time, I think the first time I traveled was in April. And so it was kind of at the height. And yeah, it was pretty much nobody on the plane. The airport was like just a breeze. And obviously they do a good job with, what they do from a security standpoint and, risk mitigation, all those things. So it in my mind, it was pretty easy. It was easier than going to the grocery store. That's how I kind of describe it to a lot of people.
Oh man, I get so confused. Like they got the arrows. I'm like, God, it's right here. I got to walk all the way around, and my heart thanks me for having to walk a couple extra aisles in the grocery store, but I can't get it right. It's like every other one, and I always mess it up.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. So but the airport thing was pretty easy, and from that standpoint, and progressively as the months have gone on, and I traveled about a month ago or so, it's gotten a little busier, and but everyone's wearing masks the whole flight, and you feel comfortable. And I've taken 3 COVID tests, so it's just been, from my standpoint, I've traveled globally for a lot of years, and I've always been cognizant of washing my hands and, just kind of doing the right thing. So for me, it was, not that much different.
What, it's funny. It's like you say, it was a breeze, airports are historically a nightmare. You know what I mean? And hopefully this has opened, their eyes to improve their processes. internally as well. It's like travel's awful. You get to your destination and you're like, oh my God, I need to take a break. So let's jump back into LogiMove. Who, you mentioned Hertz, you mentioned a couple others. I don't know if you mentioned them because you worked there, which you obviously did, but in terms of client companies, like who would your primary clients be and how do you go find them? Like, we were talking about facial recognition. Airports, hello, you walk up to security, scans your face. This is Justin Kane. This is Josh Mosko. Like, we're good. Are there verticals that you guys focus on? Are there specific categories? Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, like in kind of construction and for us, the rental has kind of been our core because it's really easy from a process standpoint. Rental, you have equipment coming in, out, you have delivery, you have dispatch, you have all these things. So, we've built out a lot of those solutions. So yeah, those are big targets. Anything in rental, and now you're seeing different types of rental, right? As far as like sharing economy, circular economy. So there's, obviously the whole sharing aspect is a huge opportunity. So yeah, those are really kind of our core customers, and everyone's at a different place in their digital journey. So it's you just kind of go after a lot of them, and maybe some of them are at the right time, or you get into the right person. So for us too, the other piece that I didn't talk about was, a lot of times we go in on kind of the operations side because we want to help try to streamline their business. So there's kind of that, do you go in at the IT side or the operations side? So a lot of times, we're talking operations folks is kind of the first line because they're living it out there in the field. But so now we're into mining is a vertical that we're after, which we think is a big opportunity. And then we've had a lot of discussions about logistics. So logistics being, shipping containers and, all sorts of things. There's, even with aviation, they have these, ULD containers that are shipping, from an aviation. So yeah, we're really trying to be a little more laser focused as far as kind of where we're going after. But yeah,
you've had a lot to do with putting this all in place, because I can remember when you started there were like, usually, heads of sales and managing directors inherit like a bunch of crap that their predecessor has put in place. I remember with LogiMove, like there was nothing. Like you guys didn't know where you were going to target. You guys didn't know the direction you guys were going to go in. I mean, they'd had some successes, et cetera, but like you, based on your research, based on talking to people, based on talking to companies, knowing what your product does, knowing who to essentially sell to, you're the one responsible for putting that direction together, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean, it worked out really well. I mean, the founder really kind of had a vision, right? Because we have 3 managing directors in the company at different offices. We have an office in Central Asia and Europe, and we just opened up in Singapore too. But so yeah, and I think our founder Philip really had a vision of kind of where we're going and putting these pieces of the puzzle together. And when we met, I was really kind of pitching that bundled solution of telematics and equipment rental and those type of things. And he really believed in it. So, he's given me the flexibility and freedom to kind of run after it. And it's really, we really, from a global standpoint, we see the opportunities globally. So now we're all kind of aligned that this is a big opportunity. So a lot of it is kind of come to fruition, and now we're really, really focused on that. So it's really interesting because I've always kind of been a part of these business units or companies that are in growth mode. And I really like that. And at the same time, you're always, you're wearing the sales hat, the operations hat, you're wearing a lot of different hats, but it's fun though.
What, I should ask this because this is kind of like what we're really here for. So are you in a position to hire over at LogiMove? I mean, are you, as the managing director, are you the guy that hires folks here in North America? Are you hiring? Do you have any open positions?
Yeah. I mean, it's something we've been talking about. We obviously really want to scale up, and 2021 is really the year for us. And hopefully we're going to close some deals here on the back half of the year here and really position ourselves well. So we're right now we're just talking about looking for somebody on the AI team as a developer, basically to help us with this project that we're doing, this big project. So that's one thing. But yeah, I think moving into next year, it's project managers and sales types, and for the Americas. And we still have a lot of our development overseas. in our offices in Europe and Central Asia. So, but yeah, we're really seeing the opportunities we bring on clients to kind of scale up. And yeah, from my standpoint, I mean, my core is kind of on that sales, business development side. Not really, I always tell people I'm not the technical guy in the room. So, I definitely need people to help me vet out if we're looking for somebody technical or, really IT focused. But,
Yeah. So let's say you were to be hiring sales. Let's say you were to be hiring marketing or customer success here. What are some of the characteristics that you would look for in a qualified candidate?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I think a lot of it for me, especially in a small company that we're trying to scale up, is, somebody who's really kind of motivated and really wants to learn and really can wear some different hats, because I think, there's definitely that side of things, right? That we're not big enough where we have, this is your specific role and it never deviates from that. So a lot of it for me is in kind of that personality of, is that person really driven and motivated and flexible and has some creativity. And then obviously for me, being kind of with the sales mentality, it's voice of the customer stuff. So somebody who can be very personable too is important, and really, think about the customer, right? And not just be kind of tunnel vision about,
Closing a deal. Yeah. That makes sense. What, is there anything I should have asked you today so far and haven't? Can you think of anything that I should have asked you and haven't?
No, I think we've touched on, a lot of things. And, I think for us and kind of fresh with the advisor board meeting yesterday too, for us was, a lot of stuff about technology and where things are going with digital marketing is a big thing for us. And then we talked about blockchain and AI and facial recognition and stuff like that. So it's, I think those are interesting topics because, we talked a lot about it as far as, where is it going to go? Where do you spend your time and energy? And then, how do you, the whole digital marketing thing, I think is huge. And obviously what we're doing here, podcasts and virtual stuff. And, I'm a big fan of networking and LinkedIn and all that stuff. And so it's nothing specific, but, I just think it's kind of fascinating where we're at and where we're going and then what people can do to, really kind of strengthen their career or strengthen, their resume or their network. And I think that stuff is super important. And, that's one thing I've learned the last couple of years as well.
So on strengthening the network thing, how do you want people to contact you? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, like I said, LinkedIn for me is definitely a big resource, and I spend a lot of time on there, and I just think it's a good platform. I actually started a group. It's called Construction and Equipment Rental Technology Solutions, and really just to have content and really have some industry leaders there as well. And, it's been really interesting, and we're trying to really kind of scale it up now. There's about 3,000 members, but, so, I spend a lot of time there. So I'd always say that's the best way is LinkedIn.
I'll add a link to the video version of this on YouTube, as well as the Apple Podcast and Spotify podcast link for Josh's LinkedIn profile, as well as maybe you could send me the link to the group that you've created so that people can access that. Man, I got to bring it up. I started this whole podcast off talking about how athletic you are and manly man over here, and you said you're doing yoga. Like what? No, I mean, and that's something that I've been interested in, man. I'm like a board in terms of flexibility. I was doing yoga. I tried yoga. I was going on Wednesday mornings and I messed up my elbow. I ended up developing like tennis elbow from yoga because I twisted wrong and something happened. And it took like a year to recover. So I've been a little bit worried about that. But like, how has yoga helped you, as a professional, right? Is it mindset? Is it simply flexibility? Does it increase patience? Like talk to me about,
it's an awesome kind of question. I think in my mind, it just kind of stumbled upon me that I started yoga, but it was definitely kind of a lot of those things, right? As far as, playing sports and just doing different things, lifting, all my life and all that. But
squats for me this morning, dude. I was squatting.
I mean, and it just takes a toll on your body. We'll talk about the age thing now, but just getting on in years, you start to get stiff and lose flexibility. So, I mean, one thing was flexibility, which is huge, just having some shoulder injuries and back injuries. But so that was really good, and it's definitely a good workout in a lot of ways. But yeah, the whole mental aspect of it really just kind of gives you time to just, get out of that busy cycle and and attachment to the phone and all these things. It just gives you that time to yourself. And so yeah, it's from a stress reliever standpoint, and just there's a lot of good things about it from that standpoint. And yeah, it's definitely kind of transformed me in a way. And I met some great people as well, some really positive, energetic, people that that are kind of in this ecosystem of yoga. So yeah, it's been a great thing for me, from a kind of health, fitness, wellness standpoint.
Is this a daily ritual? Are you doing the yoga thing daily, or is it weekly, a couple times a week? Like,
yeah, no, I try to, I'd say 4 times a week or so is kind of the average. It's one of those things where you could do pretty much every day, and I try to carve out that time, but it doesn't always work. But yeah, I'm doing it like 4 times a day, and yeah, it's definitely a big part of my
4 times a week. Not
yeah,
damn.
Yeah, a little stretching here,
Yeah.
a little
of course.
stretching too, before bed in the morning. But yeah, try to do it like 4 times a week.
My wife has got me every single morning now, like just on my back on the floor. I'm stretching out the hamstrings. I'm stretching out the glutes. I'm stretching out the back. You got to do it, man. It's awful. What, so really quickly, 4 times a week, like, there are listeners here that can't make it to the gym 4 times a week, much less the fact that gyms are not really, well, some gyms are open now, but how much time do you devote to it daily?
Yeah, I mean, the classes are typically like an hour. So, I mean, the beautiful thing about the whole virtual thing now, I mean, obviously you can get, tape, YouTube videos and stuff for yoga, but I mean, we have the online classes are 60 minutes. So yeah, it's a good hour. And that whole stretching thing, I mean,
and a yoga mat's $20, like roll it out.
Right,
let's
right,
go.
Right. Yeah, and you could do it anywhere. I mean, there's pop-up classes everywhere in the, in the park. We just had some stuff in the farm. So there's some cool kind of destination stuff you can do. And yeah, it's pretty accessible, right? So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Cover the how do people contact you thing. I'll get those links up. Dude, this has been great. This is just another example of how technology is affecting the world around us. And technology, folks, is not going anywhere. So for those of you who are looking to make a career change, for those of you who are looking to get into technology, a company like LogiMove down the road might be a viable option for you guys. I urge anyone to reach out to me if you have any questions about, technology sectors. I can definitely help with that. I think this has been great, Josh. I really appreciate you coming out today. Yeah. What a surprise. I mean, like, here I am, I'm in my little cave over here, not really having the ability to see anyone other than Zoom meetings. And my boy Josh shows up at the door for the podcast. So I appreciate you coming out and putting on a nice shirt. I won't tell anybody you got a pair of, workout shorts on. No, I'm kidding. No, he got nice pants on. But that's it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
We'll be back at you in 2 weeks' time with another Breath of Fresh Career episode. Thank you. Peace.